And depending on the direction, the future of America is going to go in one of two ways. Unfortunately, none of them are going to turn out well. Because Trump is either going to be impeached or he's not. If he is impeached, then prepare for chaos, folks. And maybe civil war, martial law, maybe a false flag or two, which will then trigger the next phase of America's demise. There's a lot on the table right now. If he survives it and he is able to finish out his term, there's a very good chance that he will also win the 2020 election. And if that happens between now and then, we're also going to see some other things take place. We're going to see revenge take place. We're going to see vengeance take place. We are going to see the era, E-R-A, era of Angry Donald. And folks, up to this point, we really haven't seen what he's capable of. We haven't seen the amount of damage that he's capable of doing or that he's going to do. And if he survives this impeachment, I see a lot of destruction coming. He's going to be very mad. He's going to want vengeance. He's going to want payback. It's going to get ugly. So prepare for chaos if he survives it. And also prepare for a national emergency, a false flag, war, and eventually persecution against the church. In addition, if he survives, prepare to see a dictatorship rise up. Prepare to see liberty decapitated. Those are the two situations we're facing. So depending on whether he is impeached or not, the outcome is still not going to be good. We are facing some horrible, horrible days ahead. We are facing a future where a man who began as a little pebble in New York City is going to go nuclear. He's going to explode into anger and great foment and rage. It's not going to be good, folks. There are prophetic glimpses that I've had over the years where I saw some things that were very disturbing. I did not understand what they meant, but now with all these events going on, they're coming more into focus. The disturbing future is becoming more clear. So today I'm going to talk about all of these things. I'm going to have to share the truth about the man in the White House. And some of you folks aren't going to like it, but I'm not doing it because I want an alternative or I wish for an alternative or I believe a Democrat is the answer or a savior. That's not why I'm doing this, folks. I have to do this so that you can know the truth. Because there's no option, really. There is no rescue out of this mess. This is going to affect everybody. It's going to affect the whole world. It's going to be a mess. Potentially a horrible mess. And if the worst case scenario comes into play, it's going to become nightmarish. So I'm going to share how we got here and where we're headed. Grab a pen and take notes and share this program with everybody that you know. All right, folks? Are you ready to hear the truth? Then I want to ask for your undivided attention and to really take in what I have to share here. Pray about the things that you hear and respond accordingly with looking inside your heart and your soul and your spirit. If you're struggling with sin and you need to repent and you need to forsake the things of the earth, I want to encourage you to do that because the days ahead are going to be hard and difficult. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not saying it's going to happen next week or next month. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I see America getting capsized in the future. I see the land of the free and the home of the brave spilling out her goodness into the earth. And I also see the sun going down. It's going to get dark, folks. America is going to change. America is going to morph into something else. Now, over the past few years, I've talked about how America is one of the layers of Babylon. In the Bible, we can read about end-time Babylon, mystery Babylon, the daughter of Babylon. There's layers to Babylon. And I have proposed that America is one of the layers of Babylon. And if that's the case, then that means that we would be able to look at the prophecies about end-time Babylon and mystery Babylon and Babylon's behavior, Babylon's resume, Babylon's temperament, and compare it to what we see going on now in real time. And when we do that, it's interesting that we can see some comparisons. However, the comparisons are not going to be complete because eventually end-time Babylon will have a certain appearance. It will have certain appendages. It will have certain tendencies. It will have a certain way of doing things. And so far in America, we are not there yet because the morphing is not complete. However, we're headed there, folks. And we can read about the temperament and the resume and the credentials of end-time Babylon in Jeremiah chapter 50 and 51, as well as Revelation 17 and 18, and also other places. And when we look at the description of Babylon in the Bible, we can read that it has a king that the Bible nicknames and symbolically calls Nebuchadnezzar. So end-time Babylon will have a king who will be a historical shadow of the previous Nebuchadnezzar. I have also proposed this, that end-time Babylon's Nebuchadnezzar will be the villain that we read about. That guy, the Antichrist, the lawless one, the little horn, will come from end-time Babylon. Because Jeremiah 50 and 51 talk about Nebuchadnezzar, and it mentions that Nebuchadnezzar is not a nice guy. He's going to be a bad guy, and he will be boastful. And then when we look into Daniel, chapter 7, 8, and 11, we can also read about the temperament of this person. And this person is a very pompous person. The Bible tells us he's going to be very pompous. He's going to be a braggart. He's going to be a narcissist. He's going to think that he's all that he's the best of everything. He'll be full of himself. He'll be prideful, arrogant. He will be ambitious. He will be selfish. He will love money. He will love wealth. He will love riches. He will love the military. He will love power. There's a lot of elements that this person's going to possess. The little horn, the Antichrist. And at this point in time, I've also said this, folks, my number one candidate for that person is Donald Trump. Now, I know that a lot of folks out there have their own theology. A lot of you have been influenced with theology in the past. You have heard different theories, the Hal Lindsey theories, the Tim LaHaye theories. But I also want to challenge with this, folks. If you do have those other theories, you can leave them on the table, but also place Donald Trump on the table. Be willing to place another candidate on the table because he's the number one suspect at the moment. He fits. His resume fits. The way he acts fits. His temperament nails it to a T. His temperament looks like it was written. When we read Daniel 7 and 8 and 11 about the Antichrist, the boastful one, it matches Donald Trump to a T. A T, right? Quote unquote, Trump, T. So I'm very concerned, folks, because right now we're looking at Donald Trump being impeached and kicked out of office, leaving office, like Nixon, or not. So we're watching that. But at the same time, we're also watching a giant propaganda campaign by people on the right, by his propaganda ministers and clerics, who are saying that the accusations against him about bribery and the misdeeds that were committed in Ukraine are all made up and they're lies and it didn't happen. We're hearing that on Fox News and in Trump's tweets. However, reality tells a different story. The witnesses are telling a different story. We have many witnesses now who have come forward and are sharing their accounts. They're sharing notes, memos, emails that prove that Trump indeed did take part in all that. And on this program, I'm going to share a number of those things. I'm going to share with you how that's playing out so that you can know the truth. Because if your source of this fiasco is only Fox News, you're not going to hear the whole thing. We're going to talk about that on this program. We're going to visit it. Additionally, I need to say this, folks. I believe we've turned the corner. We have turned the corner into a very dark future where America is continuing her morph, her transition into Mystery Babylon. Now, when we look in Revelation chapter 18, there's an interesting passage. It says in Revelation 18:2, Babylon the Great, folks, make America great, MAGA, Babylon the Great is fallen. It's fallen and has become the dwelling place of demons, a prison of every foul spirit, which are demons, and a cage for every unclean and hateful bird. Now, a few programs ago, I talked about that. I talked about how Babylon will become the destination resort for demons in the end times. And these demon creatures, these monsters from hell, will immigrate to Babylon and they won't be able to leave. And Babylon will become a giant incarceration camp for these demons. Now, we talked about that and we read it right here. Demons are going to end up in Babylon. If America is Babylon, then that would mean that all these evil spirits and demons are going to immigrate to America. They will dwell in America because it says Babylon has become the dwelling place. So they will dwell in America, Babylon, but they won't be able to leave. It will be a prison, a cage for every hateful bird. So that means it will be a place where they can't leave. Now that's in the spiritual realm, but what about the physical realm? Will we also see a shadow of that very same thing in the physical realm with us, with humans, with government policy? In other words, will the United States become a place that turns into a giant birdcage for American citizens? Will it? Maybe so, folks. But if it does, then that means the American people will become a nation of citizens who are perched in a cage, staring through a chain link fence. So the prophecy in Revelation 18, verse 2 tells us that the land of the good old party, the GOP, is going to become a different party. And the home of the brave is going to morph into the land of the downcast prisoners yearning to be free. Now, most folks would argue that the end times will change the world into a dictatorship. And if that's true, then we must also agree that Uncle Sam is going to get replaced with a different uncle. But the only problem is that American evangelicals never thought that the red, white, and blue would turn orange with Trump's head of gold. They never thought that. They never saw it coming, even though it stared them in the face, even though the rest of the world could see it, and even though most non-Christians could see it. See, that's what's so amazing. It's the Christians, the evangelicals, who can't see it. They didn't see it coming, even though a few lone voices called it out, including this one, including me. I called it out, folks. I've been calling it out. I've been yelling it and shouting it from the wall. But sadly, a lot of folks who didn't want to hear it got mad at me. They got angry. They lifted their fist up toward me as I was up on the wall, just reporting what I saw. They lifted their fist and shouted expletives at me. They shouted insults and expletives and said, "We don't want you anymore. You're fired. Get away. I'm not going to listen to you anymore," etc., etc. But folks, my calling is not dictated on the popularity vote, on polling of the church. I do this because God expects me to do it. That's why. So as I'm up here on the wall, I must report, folks, that America is teetering. And also, the souls of America's men and women are also teetering in confusion. And it's a location where the American church has pivoted into hypocrisy. And the evangelical leaders have made their choice and have bitten into the forbidden fruit of lies, and then shared their portion with the body of Christ, with the elect. You know, folks, back in the Dark Ages, the clerics of Rome told the people how to think and what to think. The clerics of Rome, the Roman Church, the Roman Catholic Church, the priests, told the people that they didn't know as much as the priests, so they needed to allow the priests to do their thinking for them. And we know this. We know this from history. And the evangelicals love to remind themselves that the Catholics controlled their folks and treated them like blind lemmings. Those horrible Catholics, Rome is the devil. Look what they did to everyone. But now, here we are in 2019, and the Protestant clerics are doing the same thing. They have convinced American Christians to support the man behind the curtain and believe him. Because after all, he has a head of gold. And that man, ladies and gentlemen, if he remains in office, he's going to be the one who incarcerates America and turns her into the prison that we read about in Revelation 18:2. America has become a prison. Donald Trump's going to do that. And it's happening now. It's happening now, folks.